Everybody, it's Stan. My video today is going to be about MTHFR Methylenetetrahydrofolate Reductase is what that stands for. Before I get into it, my disclaimer, like usual, I'm not a doctor. I'm only someone who was mercury heavy metal toxic. I figured out a lot of things along the way because you don't quite get it all from just one doctor. If you find one doctor that can do it all, you really hit a gold mine. Most of us have to go to many different doctors and many different sources of information to figure ourselves out. So I was lucky to kind of do the right things the first time. I made a few mistakes, and what I want to try to do is point out what those mistakes could be so you don't do the same thing. This is my website. You can go to this link, click on it, subscribe, get on the mailing list. My goal is just generally to open our minds to all the possibilities of what this is all about so we understand it better. Always have an open mind. Look for the root cause. Try to understand what I mean by that. Root cause is not, I'm in a lot of pain, so I take pain pills, and those pain pills are what made my stomach go bad. The root cause is what caused the pain. So think about that. Always look for the true root cause. I always cover these things in yellow here. Hopefully you can see the color with new people when they approach me, because these are very important starting points. And I no matter what you've done and where you are and what you tell me, I start from the very basics so I don't overlook anything, at least what I know. And MTHFR is super, super important, okay? This is just another thing to remember here. And by addressing MTHFR, I was able to boost my body's natural detox, which is glutathione. And I detoxed pretty much just by addressing the MTHFR and removing my amalgams and then stopping any other exposure I might have thought I had. A lot of people go into all kinds of different protocols. I really don't understand why anyone even needs to do that, at least from my experience. And I do know people who have approached me who had trouble with all kinds of protocols until they addressed MTHFR and gave their body that boost that they really need, and they started to kind of detox and feel better. The caution I should put in here: be very careful with chelation. Check MTHFR first. I know there's many people out there that feel they were harmed by doing various chelations without addressing MTHFR. Okay, so number one, MTHFR is the most important item to understand and check into. Some can say it's genetic, some say the heavy metals caused it. I never got retested to see where my MTHFR is after I detoxed, but I can see it kind of both ways. I wouldn't really delve into that too much. It really doesn't matter so much what caused it, as long as you understand you have it and you do something about it. Kind of along those lines, though, is babies can be born with MTHFR, and many people think that the babies that seem to react badly to vaccines also had MTHFR. Unfortunately, not every baby gets tested for MTHFR. Where does it come from? Mom and dad. Okay, you kind of inherit the genes, as they call it, from mom or dad. You can get one from mom, one from dad. Both mom and dad can have different variations of MTHFR. Or it can all come from just one parent, as far as I know. Okay? So that's where it came from. So in other words, babies can kind of be born toxic, which is a whole other topic to be aware of. If you have a good detox system, you don't likely necessarily have MTHFR, and therefore you probably won't even be on a website like this looking for information. But that's just something I point out. That might be why some people can handle having amalgams in their mouths and other people can't. So when you tell people, well, I was sick from amalgams, and they say, oh, you can't be, I have a mouthful, or my family and uncle has a mouthful. Well, it's maybe because they were lucky enough to have a better detox system. It's probably more involved in that, but that's a simple way for me to put it. MTHFR causes many diseases. I'll show you the chart in a second. And then there's various, I call it types. It's various, it's another term for it, I can't think right now, but and it has a variable effect on how much your detox is affected. I was reduced to like 80% of normal detox according to the chart. So I'll show you these two charts real quick. This is one that it's conditions caused by MTHFR. You can see even autism they include, addictions, drugs, alcohol, Down syndrome, miscarriages. My doctor suspected MTHFR because my mom had miscarriages, so that's a key thing. Chronic fatigue, you can just look through the list. You can pause the video and read this yourself. I'm not going to read them all to you, but as you can see, there's many, many, many things that can be associated with MTHFR. Comes from a doctor who has a pretty good name out there, Dr. Lynch. So, look into all those kind of things. And again, I guess the point here is to realize in these videos that if you never heard of MTHFR and your doctor never tested you for it, but you have some of these symptoms or some of these conditions, then you very likely weren't totally diagnosed, and you could be on medication that's addressing symptoms but not really helping you. So that's kind of the point of all my videos, is to look for root cause. Okay, one item I just noticed here, congenital heart defects. I was born with a different kind of aortic valve, I should say. So boom, there it is. So that's that chart. The other one I want to show you is the effect on your detox. Again, I don't know how accurate these are. That was a term, I couldn't remember the mutation, but when I got tested, I had this A1298C and I had the C677T. Both of them are fairly common. I believe the A is, I think, the more common. If you have both, one mutation each, you can see that 80% of mercury is stored rather than detoxed, and 20% is detoxed. I kind of had this level here, one of these two here. So, I was pretty kind of messed up. And again, when I addressed MTHFR, a lot of that went away. So let me continue here. Number 9, the supplements that I take is something called 5-MTHF, which is the methylfolate that you got to replace in your body. Again, your body doesn't properly methylate the food you eat to make the B vitamins. And what you're doing is replacing them with the methyl version. Okay, a methylcobalamin is another B vitamin. Again, it's the methyl version of that vitamin. Those are the two things I take. Okay, do not take complexes, at least early on, because you are probably way more sensitive to things, and mixtures of things in the complexes could affect how the B vitamins work with you. I tried both, and I always go back to just the pure these two items here. That's all I take. Okay. A lot of people, will take the mixes and the complexes and say they feel fine. You may or may not. I just say, you don't want to introduce unknowns into what you're doing and say, well, gee, Stan told me to try this and I took a complex, but I felt worse. Very likely you could, because of the other junk they put in some of these vitamins. Okay, so be very careful. Read the labels very carefully. Avoid folic acid. The main thing is we don't process folic acid, and folic acid is in many, many, many processed foods. So I'll just leave it right there. It's simple as that. One of my pet peeves is many people are told to eat folic acid or take folic acid because of this. So it's some confusion out there as to what the right thing to do, or to take that kind of supplement. Okay, you can get the folate that you need from eating greens. I was very, very sensitive, and actually I'm going to have to skip the next part because I didn't get the list yet. I think I did a thiol intolerance video. If I didn't, I will do one separate, and you can look it up there from here. But when you're thiol intolerant, which is another aspect of being heavy metals and mercury poison, you can't handle a lot of sulfur-based foods and vegetables. And a lot of the greens are sulfur-based. Okay, that's kind of why greens are good for detox, but if you're intolerant, it doesn't really agree with you. So it's kind of a catch-22, where you can maybe only eat a certain amount of greens or certain specific greens. Like parsley for me was very, very strong for me to eat. I didn't tolerate it well. It was like doing a good job of like detoxing me. So I guess the other point there is detox isn't always pretty, okay?